everyone, and welcome to BPS Smart, your local podcast for all things Brevard Public Schools. Today we have an excellent topic to discuss with an incredible member of our leadership team here at Brevard County School District. It's Miss Susan Hann. Welcome, Sue. May I call you that?
Absolutely.
So today we're going to be discussing Brevard County's facilities program and also the sales surtax. But why don't we start with you, if that's okay, Sue?
Okay. So I've been with Brevard Schools for about 9 years now. Right now I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Facility Services. I started here as the Director of Planning and Project Management, and I came here in January of 2015, which was right after the first sales surtax was passed by the voters.
Oh, wow.
So it was a cool opportunity for me to come in and start with that program and just basically build it from the ground up. So it's been an awesome career. I love being a part of the BPS team, and that program in particular was really good for me because I'm an engineer and I've worked in the public sector for most of my career. Most of it has been in Brevard County, so I really like the fact that I can come into the school district and do some great things with the investment that the taxpayers have made in Brevard. So it's just been a really good career, and love being here. So
what are some of those fun things that you've been able to do with facilities?
Let me tell you a little bit about how we even decide how we do projects. So back in late 2012, 2013, the facilities department had our in-house team do an assessment of our facilities, and that was what kind of built the first surtax program. If you remember, that was kind of coming off the big recession. Very few resources for many years leading up to that time. And what had happened is our air conditioning systems and our electrical systems, our roof systems, everything had been deteriorating with very little investment. And many of our schools are over 50 years old. We have 84, soon to be 85 schools, and more than half are over 50 years old. So if you think about your house, right, and your house is 50 years old and you still have the original air conditioner, it's probably not working all that great. So that's what was happening in 2014. We really could not provide a stable learning environment because the air conditioning was the biggest thing. And we had put in some policies in place to save energy, which would ultimately save money, that limited the hours that we even provided air conditioning, if in fact it worked at the time. It was pretty bad. So I walked into a situation where we had a problem and a challenge, but we also had the resources that were going to arrive to help us really mitigate that whole situation.
Yeah.
So the timing was perfect. It was really fun for me to be able to put the team together, and we've got some great people that work in facilities that have been here a while, and we've got some new adds to the team, and we just have a really good team of folks that know what they're doing in the facilities realm. Not my strong point. I'm like construction, contract management, financial management. That's my skill set. But I've got some really sharp facilities folks that know facilities. So the stars really aligned for us to be able to quickly start to implement projects and programs from the sales surtax. So my predecessor, Mr. Theodore, he had done a really good job setting us up for success. So he had the facility assessment done, and we kind of built the program based on the in-house assessment that we did. So we sort of knew these are the schools where air conditioning is a priority, and that was really the big emphasis for the surtax that was passed in 2014. That was the big thing. So we did lots and lots of air conditioning. Other stuff happened, but the whole surtax in 2014 was really built around building systems. So it was primarily air conditioning, a little bit of roof renewal, some electrical renewal. There was no athletics, there was no playgrounds, none of the ancillary facilities were even in the first sales tax. There were 3 components, and it was facilities, and that was the bulk. About 84% of the funding went to facilities per se, and those are air conditioning, building systems type stuff. There was another about 13% that went to educational technology. So that was computers and fiber and that kind of stuff. And then there was another about 3 to 5% that went to security. And if you think back in like 2014, we were just starting to really think about school security. So we as Brevard, we ended up a little bit ahead of the curve. We were able to start to do things in security as a result of the sales tax that really put us ahead of when security became a much bigger...
As it became more of a concern, unfortunately. Okay.
And we're so big, we're 70 square miles, 84 schools, we've got, lots and lots of buildings. You're trying to do anything at every school takes a long time. Yeah. So it was really good that we got ahead of the security issue. So that was kind of the start in 2014. Okay. And that was it's a 6-year program, so that sales tax expired in 2020 and went back out to the voters with another program. And one of the things we do well in Brevard is to actually define how we're going to spend the money. Okay. So we did an updated facility assessment. We hired a company that came in 2019. They literally walked each of our buildings and they looked at our air conditioning, our electrical, our sidewalks, our roofs.
Everything.
They looked at everything. And so I got a lot of good data on what we needed to do. And then concurrently, our own staff, we were out assessing some of our athletic facilities, our playgrounds, and so we've got data on that. Our in-house team looked at classroom condition, looked at paint, like where we needed to do painting, which turned out to be everywhere.
Yeah. That's another one of those things when a building's 50 years old.
Right. And so, we were able to continue to do work on our important building systems, but also expand the scope of the second surtax. So you'll see out in the community much more visible projects in the second round. You can see what's happening. So you'll see a lot of tracks got done at our high schools. And this was awesome because we used sales tax money to do the track renewal piece. So the tracks falling apart, surtax is a renewal type of function. And then we took capital money, which is our local capital based on property taxes that comes in. We took capital money and we used that to rubberize our tracks. And we're really able to deliver a great product for our students in our secondary schools. And we're just finishing up that project. Titusville High School was one of the last ones, and then Palm Bay High School, I think, is the last one, and they're just finishing up.
That was the big focus. After 2020, when it came out again, the big focus was more on those ancillary things.
Paint, LED lighting in our classrooms.
Oh, yes.
So every school is getting LED lighting. And it's better for education, but it's also good for energy savings. We're going through all of our schools and doing LED lighting. The other change in 2020 is we changed the distribution of funding among the different categories. So the 2020 sales tax was allocated 70% for facilities, 15% for educational technology, and 15% for security. So we actually beefed up the amount of money that is going towards security. So again, we could do more, broaden the scope. And we don't talk too much specifics about security, but we've invested $30 million in security since the start of the program in 2014. Wow. So big deal. And same thing with educational technology. Our partners over in ET, they are putting in fiber, they're doing modern classrooms, our computers have all been upgraded. It's really a big game changer in terms of the learning environment. So we're all really working together to make sure that we're doing great work in our schools and they have technology, students are safe, the air conditioning works, the lights are cool, the track is awesome. And
you need all of it.
You need everything, exactly. And so, it's not perfect. You can find a wart in every school.
Of course.
But we've got a good set of data that we can use to decide how we invest our resources, and then we can deploy them. So every 5-ish years, we want to bring in a third party to come in and do a comprehensive assessment for us. But we also keep a database, so as we do things that were recommended in the assessment, say, recommending we replace the roof on building 2, and the roof gets replaced on building 2, we go back into the database and say we did that. So we do have kind of a live tracker of this is what was assessed and these are the things that were done. And not everything is a sales tax or a capital project. Some things are just maintenance. So our maintenance team is also keeping up with what's what we've changed over the years. So we also have in-house folks. As I said, they've done some like playground assessments and athletic facility assessments. So that's going pretty well. We keep that updated. Have a great relationship working with the county athletic directors. Let's say we're going to do 6 tracks. Somebody's first and somebody's last. So we look at it from condition. They may look at it from other, some other factors. All that coordination happens. So it's not just, this one's first, second, and third. It's who can move, who can adjust, when's graduation. It's amazing.
It's a lot more involved.
Oh yeah, it really is. And coming from the local government side, I didn't know school district world, and it's been a real eye-opening experience. Like, oh, I guess we can't mow the lawn when they're testing.
Yeah.
So all that stuff, and like I said, our team's really experienced, so they know all that stuff. But yeah, so doing great work. There's on our website under community sales surtax, and just follow the links there, and you'll see the surtax plan. We are loosely following that plan. Schedules get adjusted. We've actually added projects to the plan, and that goes through a really interesting process because we have an independent citizens oversight committee. So they've been in effect since 2014. One original member and one member who stayed with us for all but 1 or 2 years and is now back with us. We have 11 members, and they represent different sectors of the community, like business, finance, that type of thing, and construction. And so they meet every other month, and we basically report on our revenues, our expenditures, our projects. Like we give them a very detailed financial report, give them pretty detailed project reports on what we're doing. But one important role that they're playing is, as we have extra revenue, we propose projects to either add on or supplement scope. So like while we're here, we're doing an air conditioning project. Well, better examples, we're doing a roof project. We've got to move the air conditioning units off the roof to put the roof down. Do we need to replace those air conditioning units also? So we, as our facilities team says, that's a good recommendation. We've got the resources, and they look at those things and give us some feedback on that. And then we ultimately will take those changes to the board. So what you find on the website is, pretty good representation of the mix of projects and about what's going on where, but it's not fully up to date as to absolutely everything that's happening because it's always changing. We also get regular audits too. The surtax program gets audited twice per year by the district's internal auditors, and we have sort of made that a choice. Like every year the district does an audit plan. We want them to audit us twice per year. Because anything that maybe isn't quite right, we want to know in time to fix it. I don't want to know 2 years later.
Yeah,
right?
That's a good point.
And fortunately, we've had, I think it's 16 or 17 clean audits. Everything's good, but it's a great process. And they report to the district's audit committee and the board, as well as to our citizens oversight committee. So twice a year, there'll be a presentation from our internal auditors about the audit of the surtax program. So we have a different auditing firm that comes in and audits those projects against the charges versus the contract terms. So there's not so much of a relationship between career and tech ed and the surtax, but there's definitely a relationship between CTE and facilities. We do a lot of work to support our really innovative career and tech ed programs. We've got some cool stuff. Like,
we really do.
Like our department built a hangar, and we work with Miss Rutledge and her team as they are conceiving of these really cool things. I think she told me she had something like 45 unique programs. Just so everybody knows, there's an HVAC program at Space Coast, and like we hire people from that program. Our guys love working with them, and we want to hire them because they are successfully trained students that really have a place in our workforce. So her programs are really preparing our students to go right into industry in our local area. So It is just amazing the things that she does with her programs. We support our adult education program. Like we're building a commercial driver's license training facility. We have a special legislative appropriation. And so that's going to help us. We obviously need bus drivers and truck drivers and things like that, but it helps the community, and it helps our other local government partners who also need folks trained with a CDL. So it's really awesome. Like, we are a true hub in the community. In my world alone, I'm probably spending, outside of like the middle school, like big projects, I'm probably spending about $50 to $80 million a year. And much of that is going back into the local economy. A lot of our vendors are local vendors. They hire local people. And our suppliers, if we can get local suppliers, that's ideal. So like, we are a big economic driver, and that's just on the spending side. People don't realize like how big we are. I was looking at our square footage, and we're comparable to like the city of West Melbourne. Like, if you think about the square footage of houses, and we're like a small city. Like, we have 12.8-ish million square feet. We really do have a strong economic impact in our community. And you think about our 66,000 students and all of the impacts that they have out in our community. It's just really cool. Like, I'm so proud to be part of this team. So in our sales tax plan, we had renewal of playgrounds, and these were playgrounds that were rated as failing. Some of them had been condemned. So yeah, we did about $2.5 million investment in new playgrounds, and we're going to be doing some more. So keeping an eye on that and doing our assessment updates. But the really cool thing is, as we're doing these new playgrounds, we're not using mulch anymore as the surface. We're using like rubberized tile. It's much better in terms of safety. It doesn't require near as much maintenance. Like the mulch, the custodians are supposed to go, rake it every day, and they're busy and short-staffed and all that. So we're trying to do things smarter. And so that's one area where we're investing capital money in the surface and surtax money in the playground renewals. Really what I'd like to say is thanks to our community. Like, this is truly a game changer for us. If I think about where we would be if we did not have the sales surtax, it's scary to think about. I was talking to our director of maintenance this morning, and we have seen such a difference in our AC calls for service. We are caught up on our work orders. And the other thing is, we have been able to take a crew of folks and do preventative maintenance on our AC equipment. Like, that's started huge. This past year. And that is solely a result of the investment in air conditioning that was made possible by the sales surtax. In Brevard, like, we are doing things right. This is how a facilities department should be run. This is how we should do business. And we're kind of getting to that place where we can do business the right way.
In the right direction, it sounds like.
So it truly was a game changer, and I'm so grateful for the community. And so I'm really proud to be a part of it, and grateful that I am here.
Thank you for tuning in to BPS Smart. I'm Anna Smith, your host. Thank you, Sue Hann, for joining us today, and thank you to all of our listeners out there, and thank you to everybody for voting for the sales surtax.